a statutory body that gives advice to our minister. I will be going through my presentation as is projected. My topic looks at the agricultural trade and investment opportunities between South Africa and Vietnam. Can I have the next slide, please? Okay. The outline is as follows. I will talk briefly about the relationship between the department and the NMC. I'll give an overview of South African agricultural sector and the potential trade, bilateral trade between South Africa and Vietnam, and potential trade opportunities, as well as potential investment opportunities between South Africa and Vietnam. In terms of the relationship between the department and the NMC, as I have indicated in my introduction, NMC, the organization which I work for, is a statutory advisory policy body which advise the Minister of Agriculture and Land Reform and Development and disadvantaged groups. The NMC has been established in terms of the Marketing Agricultural Agricultural Product Act of 1996 and executes its mandate in line with the 4 objectives of the MAP Act, which are basically increasing of market access for all market participants, promotion of the efficiency of the marketing of agricultural products, optimization of export earning from agricultural products, as well as making sure that the agricultural sector is viable. The vision of the NMC basically is to strategically position the agricultural sector in a dynamic world. And our mission, of course, is to ensure that the sector is viable. In terms of the overview of the agricultural sector, the agricultural sector in South Africa is a dualistic one in nature, made up of commercial and smallholder farmers, of course, with the commercial farmers constituting the majority of the farmers. The sector plays a major role towards employment creation, and this has been evidenced even during the COVID pandemic. Just to zero on the current figures of the Q2 of 2021, agriculture employed about 862,000 people during this quarter. And of course, the contribution of this employment also led to contribution to the gross domestic product. In Q2 alone, the sector continued to show resilience, and 6.2% of agricultural sector contributed to the GDP. It is also worth noting that employment in the sector seems to be biased towards men, despite the roles that women play towards food security and nutrition. Just to put perspective in the figures, the women that were employed during Q2 were 28.6% as compared to 71.4% that is attributed to male employment in the sector. Another thing which is worth noting is that although the sector remains viable and playing an important role, a lot of production remains at a primary level of the value chain instead of the value addition. And this is more especially for the smallholder farmers. And of course, definitely from this conference, there could be some collaboration to ensure that we incorporate our smallholder farmers into the value addition. Furthermore, on the overview of the sector, South African subsector, agricultural sector has 3 subsectors. We have the animal production, which constitutes the majority of the sector, followed by horticulture and field crops. On the right, you will see that livestock production, of course, is dominated by poultry, cattle, and sheep and pig. For horticulture, the dominant commodities are your citrus, deciduous fruits, vegetables, and viticulture, and nuts. For field crops, we have maize, sugar, soybeans, and wheat and hay. Furthermore, it's important to just highlight some of the top South African agricultural exports to the world. South Africa exports huge amount of citrus, fresh citrus to the world, and followed by wine, corn, seafood, and fresh grapes. And our market, top South Africa market destinations in terms of export, we have the Netherlands, United Kingdom, China, and then of course our neighboring countries such as Botswana, Namibia, Mozambique, and of course also the United States. And of course there are different agreements that govern this kind of trade relations. Getting to the core of the business, South Africa has bilateral trade with Vietnam, and I'm just going to zero on the statistics for 2020. In terms of South Africa, Vietnam is ranked as the 34th leading supplier of agricultural products to South Africa with a share of 0.7% and ranked 27th market destination with a share of 1%. In terms of Vietnam, South Africa only contributed 0.3% of Vietnam total agricultural imports and 0.1% of exports. From these figures, of course, one can see that South Africa is exporting more to Vietnam as compared to importing. And if we can just put maybe the figure in terms of the value, South Africa exported a total value of over $600 million of all products, of which about 109 million of those were agricultural products from Vietnam. And also, we also imported a total value of $878 million with agriculture, constituting about 48 million of these products destined from Vietnam. And maybe just to look at some of the top South African agricultural products to Vietnam, we have macadamia, corn and corn seed, fresh grapes, and fresh prawns. Okay, and then maybe just to zero on this particular agricultural on this graph, based on this graph, one can see that there's actually great opportunities between South Africa and Vietnam in terms of our fruits and vegetables. As you can see, fresh grapes appear to be one of the top products with potential trade with Vietnam, followed by maize and then apples. And of course, we have oranges and nuts. I'll concentrate just basically on the agricultural issues because that's what we are mainly interested in. Next slide, please. Okay. In terms of the potential investment opportunities, I think it is important to note that there are definitely investment opportunities that exist between South Africa and Vietnam, more especially when we look at the issues of vegetables and fruits. And of course, it is important to note that South Africa has a well-established fruit and vegetable market system with good technology that, of course, can enhance further development of the markets and as well as inclusive growth. And furthermore to that, we also need to point out that, of course, there are some challenges that we face as a country, more especially when it comes to farmer support. And this, of course, affects the issues of inclusive growth in the sectors that we have identified as potential ones to invest in. However, South Africa is grateful to know that issues such as agro-processing master plan offers great opportunities for sectoral players to form meaningful private-public partnership to ensure that we address issues related to food security, creation of employment, as well as inclusive growth. Thank you. I hope I stuck to time. I have also, some of the slides were not projected, but I think that was also in the interest of time. Thank you. Back to you, Chairperson.